this video, we're just going to look at advanced TypeScript for Next.js developers. So we look at the most used concepts in Next.js, the concepts that you will be using all the time, okay? So these are the concepts you need to understand that you are going to be using on daily basis, okay? And we just go through them carefully with examples so that you understand them in and out. Now, I want to also to make a disclaimer is that there are some other, maybe say not all concepts you are going to cover, but there are some other advanced concepts that I wouldn't put in this video because the video would be too long. So there are 3 concepts that I will specifically make videos about, and that is using Zod and React hook forms in Next.js. I will make a video about that, and that because that one I wouldn't put it in this one. It is a concept that needs its own video, because if you put in this one, the video will be too long and probably you are tired already by the time you are watching that concept. So I will make a fresh video about that one. Another concept I will also make after this one is that we are going to look at Redux. So we also make one for Redux specifically and context API. Now you might just make a video combining those 3 concepts together in one video, or I would make 2 videos to cover those 3 concepts. So it will just depend. And if you want to see that video just simply comment in the comment section. But otherwise, we're just going to dive in. So in our previous video, we covered the concepts that are so much common in the TypeScript for beginners. You need to know these concepts before you jump into this one, because we're not going to be repeating that this is a null or this is a string, this is a number. We're just going to be right away using some of the advanced concepts, okay? So it is good that you first watch this one, and after watching that one, you will have your notes. Now, in this one, as I suggested in this video, that we are going to make another video, of course, which is this one. So it is good that you learn all these concepts in a consecutive or in a step by step, rather than just jumping to a video minus having the basics. And all the concepts you are going to cover, they will be in this documentation, and I will leave link to the this documentation, so that you actually have a way to write your notes and put everything together in one place. Okay, so let's just jump in, and the first concept you're going to look at is component props. Now, the component is a concept that we use most in React and Next.js, so it is good we understand very well how to actually annotate types for components very well. So just going to start with component props as number 1. Okay, so I already have my app here running, so just simply run a Next create app, and after creating the Next.js app, make sure you use TypeScript, and then simply start the project. Reaching at this step, if you watch the previous one, it is very easy. I showed you a step by step of how to create a TypeScript Next.js app up to this point. So assuming you know how to reach up this point, I have just here a simple HTML JSX here in here, and this is the one which is being rendered here. So just going to start by creating a simple component. So I'm just going to go to my components. There is nothing right now in components. I'm just going to create there a new file, and let me just call this one maybe let me just call this one button, okay, .tsx, as simple as this. And just use RFC just like that. And then I have this button, and I can just go ahead and pass in, for instance, a prop. So if I just say this is my button, okay, let's just say this is my button, just like this, and I'm just going, of course, to return button. Sorry, I'm just going to return button what is going on? I'm just going to return the buttons. Sorry. So I'm just going to return this button, and I just quickly bring this button on my page. So down here, after this, I can just have a button here. Okay, I can just have the button, import it from components, just like that. So I have my button here. Okay, so this is the easiest way to create a component in React, and you can see our button is here. Okay, so maybe what I'm just going to do is let me see, I can just quickly put it inside here. Okay, let me just put it in here, the button. Okay, and I'm just going to go maybe ahead and put it in some padding y of 8. So I have my button here, and let me just give it some simple styles. I just don't want it to look just like that. Just going to copy some styles here. Okay, just copy like that, and let me just come here to this button. Let's give it some styles. Okay, just like this. Okay, so now we have this button. I'm just going to change it a bit. Okay, so we have this button. I can just go ahead and view this button here. Now it is here. Okay, have a button just like this. So let's just go and give it a prop. Okay, so we would want to come here and pass in a prop, for instance a title. So you can just say title is equal to, let's just give it a title, and you say maybe add to cart. Okay, so you just add the title. So right away, if it was JavaScript, this error wouldn't be there. Okay, so the first thing, if you just give a prop here, you can just see we have an error, and they're saying type title string is not assignable to type intrinsic attribute. Proper title does not exist on type intrinsic. So they are saying that this title does not exist on any property. So just going to go and we accept this title. So I'm just going to go here and simply say title. So you just see the structure. That's how we handle props, and then we can just go ahead and use here the title. Okay, so now if I just go back, the title is going to be work add to cart, but we have one problem. So you can see here they have underlined this one, and they're saying element title implicitly has any type. As we suggested, if you don't give any types in TypeScript, they will default them to any. Okay, so if you want to give the type for this one, you have to come at the end here, and then you put also another object, and inside you say title is of type string. As simple as that. So you can see basically you have annotated very well the type for this that the type this title is a string. And look at the syntax. In this first bracket, this is the actual prop that we have destructured. Okay, you can see this is the actual prop that we have destructured. Then we put colon in front of it. Then we go ahead and define also the same shape, and then we pass in the title inside, which is this name, and then we give it the data type, which is string in this case, and the error is gone. We are now good. Okay, so this is the easy way on how you can just give what you can give this a nice prop. Okay, of course you could just go ahead and give other props. For instance, the styles, you can also give the style name. We look at those ones, but this is in the simple terms how you would create your button component with a pro. Okay, so just go ahead and we move on to the next type of buttons, the next type of components. So another component is while we look at maybe an advanced component. Okay, let's just create like a product. Okay, so I'm just going to create another component here called product. So I'm just going to say product dot tsx. That is another component, rfc. Okay, and let's have a product that has an image. So I'm just going to have a product inside here. It can have an image from next image. Okay, and let's give it some things. For instance, our source, and then go ahead and you have the alt, and let's give it width, and maybe just import, just say import. So there is some image I have here in public. I have products, I have like a camera, fridge. We just import one of these products. So I'm just going to say import, and you can just see maybe image. Okay, they just do like this. They just put the inline one for easy understanding. So I'm just going to say slash products, and then I'm just going to add, for instance, camera dot jpeg, just like that. And then you can just give here alt of camera, and then let's give the width. Now I'm not sure of the width. I can just go and check. For instance, the camera has 204 by 192. 204 by 192. So the actual width is 204 by 1. So yes, the height is 194. Was it 194? Let me see. Just go with that. So we have this image, then below it we're just going to go ahead. So I will also give it a class name. Okay, I'll give it a class name, for instance, height of let's just go with height of maybe 24. So width also of maybe 48. Object cover, and they just say rounded, just like that. And then down here I'm just going to put h2. For instance, I just say it is Canon camera, and I just come here, we put price. So price here maybe $300. Okay, so yeah, they just have the product. So you just come and bring this product on the page. So I'm just going to come here, put also padding y dot py 8. Inside here just going to have a product. So just like that, product. Okay, so now if you just go back, we should have like a product. Okay, so the image is also there. Okay, so we have this. I think we should just use maybe, let me just use another image. maybe I'm just going to use surface. Okay, surface, and then just going to say surface laptop. We just see that one. Okay, so I have the my component here, the product component, with 3 things. So we can make these ones dynamic, or we can just pass these ones as props. Okay, so let me just copy this path. So it should have the image, it should have the title and the price, 3 things. So just come here to this product, and we can pass in, for instance, a title to this, and we just say it is Surface laptop. It should also have it should have an image, so you can just say we could just even call it maybe image actually, and then let's give this path, and finally we could just have price. So you just have price, and for it they just say it is 300, price 300, just like that. Okay, so we have all these coming here. You can see that title, so we have to go ahead and define all these props, okay, on the product, the title, image, and the price. So go inside the product, so you could just say here title, image, and price. Okay, just like this. Then we have to go ahead and give these three the props, we give them types. So for instance, I would do something like this, and you come and say title, okay, and this is a string, okay, this is a string, and then you just come and say image, it is also a string, and then you say price, which is a number in this case. So you can see the error is gone, okay, and then you can just come and you replace. For instance, here is title, and then here is price, price, and then finally we have also this image here. So just say here the image. Of course, this alt is always the title, so you can just say title, as simple as that. Okay, so if you just go ahead here, you still have the same thing. The good thing now, we can change these props. For instance, we can just change to fridge. If I just came to the page, I can just change this to maybe refrigerator. Okay, maybe just give it a nice fridge, and then this one could be just something like fridge. Okay, here be something like fridge, and then here you just leave it the price like 300, and you can see here it changes. Okay, now this has no problem, but this is not the common way how we are going to be defining things. So just give a scenario whereby now we are just actually going to make this one a grid. So just say we are making let's just do like this. Let's just go and say that we're just going to create another component. So let me just create another component here, new file, and this is products. This is the common way how we do things. So you say products, tsx, rfc, just like this, and let's see here, you're just going to give a class name, let's start use padding y of 8, and then let's just come and say this is going to be grid, then dot grid call for, just like that. And then here we can just go ahead and see inside here we are going to have a product, so we can just come and say product, just like this. Of course, you're supposed to at the end of the day to map them, so here just pass some props. You see we need to pass props. So let's say we have an array of now images, so just say const array, const products is equal to an array. This can come from the database, and we know it has title. Let's just say, of course, you have for instance, let's just start with the Canon camera, Canon, come on, we have Canon camera, and then I'm just going to give image, and this one just going to say slash products, and this is going to be camera.jpg, and then finally we have the price, and let's say this one is 300. Okay, so if you just do like this, you can just go ahead and copy this to 3 4. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and have the fridge, nice fridge, and this is going to be fridge, and then the third one is surface, so this is the Microsoft Surface, and the product is Surface. And then of course prices we can change, the prices, and then finally we have the TV. I just say smart TV, and then this is going to be tv.jpg. Let's leave the price. So the easiest one is to come here and map, so just come here and we say products, products dot map. Okay, product I, and then we have here a return, so we are returning this product. And of course now look at this, so we have the product, and here we have to define this product. Here they are missing props, you can see title, string, image, they are missing. Of course we could just come and say title. Okay, title is product dot a second, just here. Okay, so this would be product dot, and we can just say product dot title, and then we have another one which is image, and here we can just say product dot image, and then finally we have price, which is going to be product dot price, Of course, we can also just go ahead and put the key, maybe to I. Okay. Now, most of the times you can see you have here everything just working very well. Okay. So just go to the UI. We haven't used these products. Okay. Now, first of all, there are some problems we have here. We are right now using inferred. This is TypeScript inference we talked about in the first place. You can see it is knowing automatically that this is of this type, and it is annotating it from this array here. If you hover here, it is saying it is this product and it is defining a new type here. Okay, so if you already have, for instance, a product type here, okay, we have some product here, and then we meet again this product this side. It is a wise idea that you define now a global type that you can use globally, because you can find that this same product, you are using it add to cart, the same product, you are just going to create the same product in the backend. You can find that the data is consistent all over the place. You can find you're using the product, you are showing it on the UI, and the good example is here. So when you have this product, you have it here in the UI. When you go to the backend and you are creating on the model for creating this product, it is still the same product you are creating. So you have to have the type, and if you don't define it globally, you are going to find that you are defining it here. Okay, and then you have to define it in this place again here, so that you actually annotate these all the time. So what you're just going to do is that we are going to make these ones global. So the first thing is to create the type here. So that is the good practice, that you save all your types. You can create a place where you can save all your types in the application. So create a new folder called types, and then inside these types, just create a new file called types.ts, and we're going to keep all our types here. So we can just come here in this product, this type we defined here. Okay, I'm just going to remove this type, just like that. Now I'm just going to bring this type in our types.ts. So I'm just going to say export type, and I'm going to give it a name, product. Okay, and this is equal to this type here. Okay, so you're exporting type product. So it is good idea that all your types in the application, like you put them in a folder like types here and export them. So now we can export this product inside here. We say it is of type product, just like that, and go ahead and import the product from the types. Okay, just like this, and you can add the word type. It is not a must, but you can add the type to mean that these are types. So you can have here a type, and we are using it here. Now there is no problem. So when we come this side, I can come and I annotate this array if I wanted this one. Okay, you can just come here and you say this is going to be of type product. You export the product, and then you, like, this is going to be, of course, an array of products, as simple as that. Now we have the same name. I'm just going to say type here, and now we have the same here, this product, and you can see here. So what we can just say is adding, and this is, by the way, this is good, so that you see sometimes you have this kind of problem whereby your types have the same like these, and they can't allow you to do that. So the good thing, you could always say product and then you add props. Okay, you add the word props, so that if you just come, for instance, here in the product, okay, if you come here in the product, just come and say here is product props. Okay, of course, remove this, and then you just say type. Okay, so we are giving it this, and we are adding the keyword props. It's not a must, but this is a good naming convention to actually avoid it from same other names that might exist, like component names and others. So when you say product props, it is actually telling us that it is actually the props for the product. Okay, so now we can do the same thing now in here. Instead, we just use product props, and even here product props, and you can see the error goes. Okay, so after annotating like this, you can see that now it is taking of type product props, and this now annotates directly, of course, in here. Okay, now even this one, they're assuming to be a number, and it's good that you can just go ahead and show this is a number. Now in some instances, this one can be any, depending on your TypeScript the configurations. So when you look in this here, there is TypeScript config.json. Okay, so let's look at this TypeScript config. It has some configurations already they do here. You can see, for instance, the strict mode is 2. Make sure you have this, and in Next.js they normally make it true, which is nice. So they have many things here they configure out of the box for you, but the most important one, I think, is this strict. Make sure you have this strict too. Okay, so this is the best way of annotating the product. So if you have, for instance, let me just now come here, and instead let's put products. So you can just say here products, just like this. Let's just go to our app. Okay, so you can have here, you have these products. Let me just go to these products. So as you can see here, there's a good practice. The first thing we have is the array, and this array, I gave it the props, which is product props, and it is an array. As you can see that this is a single product, and this is array of products. That's why you say product props, and then we give it as an array. So if you do this, you don't need to actually come here, and on this map it will automatically be having type of product props automatically. Okay, but if you don't give it here on top, you can also just bring actually this automatically. If I remove it from here, okay, I could also just come and I put it directly here like this. Okay, this also works just like that. So either way you want, you can just define it like that. Then this one, you can give it a number, or you can just remove it, because by default it is going to assume it is of type number. Okay, and this is using TypeScript inference. Now everything right now is okay, and let me just give only a gap here. Let me give a gap of 1 rem, just like that. Okay, so that is the second way of creating product, and this is the common way of creating props. This is how we are going to be creating the props all the time. Okay, so another one I just want to demonstrate next is that we have used the types. Okay, we have used the types, but in the similar way inside here we could change this into an interface. Okay, so you're not limited only using the types. You could go ahead and you also define as an interface. In the similar way, you could say export interface. and then you say product props. Actually, you can just, and I normally just want to give a key of I to differentiate interfaces from the types. So you could just say product I, product props, product props, and for them you don't have to give equal signs. You simply put an object, and I'm just going to copy these three and just put them here. Okay, so you can also just define it as an interface, whatever that you find it easy for you. So in the similar way, you can just go to the products, or let's first go to the product here, and you can also just use I, and you can also import this. Okay, there is no any problem. You can also similar way go to products, and instead of using the product props, you can just come here and use I product props, import this just like this. So you can either use the interface, or you can use the types, and you don't need to define here that this is interface. This is not like recommended. For the type is recommended, okay, but for this is not. Okay, so I want just to give, like, you may just think that because this one has text type here, this one text interface, it is not. And even this one, if you don't give it, they have no problems. Okay, so we have here interface, and you can use the interface here in the similar way we use it the product. Okay, so I also explained about those two here. You can just go ahead and just use like that. Okay, so moving forward is components with children props. Okay, so let's just look at our products. Okay, you can just look at our product here. We can just go ahead and create, for instance, a frame for this. Okay, maybe you can look at this frame here. Okay, you can look at this frame. So let me just first go and say, for instance, product container. So I'm just going to create here another component, which is product container, maybe products container dot tsx. Okay, just like this, rfc. Okay, I have products container. So what do I want this container? I just want to create, let me just come here and actually import products. Okay, since we already have products, just like this, and let me just go and just say products container, and let me go to the page, and let me just come here and put this products container just like this. Of course, import it, as simple as that. So of course, if you just go back here, we have another just products. They are the same, but we want this one to have a something like this. Okay, they just go ahead and say it should be something like this. So want to create a products container that actually wraps in that way. So I can go here and search for the card, just card. Okay, and just going to get the status. So just go with the one which says card with form inputs, and on this card, let me first get this status here. Sorry, just copy, and I'm just going to first come here and say class name, paste this. Okay, so now first of all, I want to give max width of, let's say, max width of maybe 5 XL. Okay, bg white, let me just say make it bg slate, maybe they just say 700, just like that. And let's look at so far how this one looks like. Okay, so yeah, you see it now surrounds this. It adds some different vibe. Let's just continue giving it some things. Maybe we just want this to have a header on the products. So let's say it has a flex. Okay, let's say it has a flex dot justify between and items center, maybe just like this. And then here it has to have a title. Let's just say have a title. Let's just say popular products. Popular products. Okay, popular products. And then it also takes in a next link, okay, which says see all. Okay, we can just say see or, of course, takes in a href. So now let's put a hash. Okay, and you could just go ahead, of course, design these ones. And this BG slate, let me make it 800. This border, let me just see border. I'm just going to make this border slate instead of 600. Okay, so we have this flex, and let's give it also some simple padding of 4 or 6. And let's give some styles. For instance, this button, let's give it BG white, maybe BG slate 6, BG slate 200, and text slate 800. Okay, and text Excel just like this. And let's give it some py of 2.5, px of 6, and let's say rounded. Okay, md. And for this one, I'm just going to give it a class name of maybe 3xl text, 3xl. Okay, and let me just go here and see undefined reading code. What is that? Let's just make sure we have everything right. What could be the problem? Okay, we are good. So we have our products, and then we have this. Why is padding not working? Padding y was not working. Yep. So we have this is our card. You can look, it looks amazing. And I can just go ahead and also increase it to 6xl. Okay, so we have this wrapper that is in this one, but we want to make it dynamic to use it on different places. Okay, we can just want to give it on different places so that we can just reuse it. Okay, so I can just come here, and so we want to make this reusable. Okay, want to make this reusable. So first of all, how many props is it taking? First of all, you can see it is taking some of these things here. Okay, it is taking some of these things. Okay, it is taking some of these things here. So to be, first of all, to simplify it, we could even just like leave only products. Okay, we could just leave only products, and then it has these ones. But if you just see that inside we are passing in other things, if you see here inside we are passing in other things, like all these ones are the ones we call children. Okay, if you go for instance in our layout, you can see that we have here the type of this one is children. Okay, so wherever you are going to pass in that the HTML inside like this, and you have children here, it means you can pass in HTML React nodes, or the React nodes that you can pass in here. Okay, you can pass in like HTML, like divs, sections, images, anything you can pass in here, and this one is what we call children. Okay, so you will see that this now product, which takes in as children, this one here. If we wanted to call this product container, we are calling it in page here. So instead, if we call it like this, we could call it like this. Okay, so that inside here we pass in whatever we want. So for instance, we can just cut everything we put inside. All these ones, let me cut them, and then go to page, and let me put them inside, just like that. Okay, just like this. Now let me just see the problem we have. You see type children of element has no properties in common with this type. Okay, so we have to type this one as that it takes in children. So you can just come here and you say this takes in children. Okay, so the props for this, okay, the prop for this is actually React node. So you can just come here and say here children. Okay, and its stuff is React node. So you could just say React node and import this from React, just like this. Okay, so this is how you can annotate this, and of course you come ahead and pass these children here, children, just like this. So you pass the children here, meaning you can actually pass in all sorts of React nodes. Okay, so now of course, now here, if here we have passed a list of them, I don't know if that one makes sense. If I just come, of course, let's first import this link, next link. Okay, so now you can see here at least we have passed in some children. Okay, now this shouldn't give us any errors now. And yeah, so we have this, and this, when you have any component and you want to pass things inside like this, okay, you want to pass things like this, then this is how you create it. You give it of type children. Okay, you can give it of children, and this is normally used when you are creating wrappers. You might just have a design you want to duplicate over the time, or we might just want to use this for instance in a page here. We can just go here and we can pass in products container, and you can pass in anything else. This can wrap anything else you want. Okay, we can put here a new section. Okay, we can put in a section, and in the section we can just go ahead and put h2 welcome to new section. Okay, and you will see that the styles will be duplicated. You can see here, for instance, let me just come here, and of course, like I put a class name and of course py of 8. Okay, no, this one we just give it to the container itself. So to the container, we can just give it a margin y of 8 for now. Yeah, so you can see you have a new, and the wrapper, this wrapper, you can reuse it in many ways. Okay, and this is why we use this to create different layouts. So layout is one example that is using this component over and over. Okay, you see they have a function and text in the children, and then they have any design you want here. So you can pass any design you want on this to pass over all the components. Okay, you can create, for instance, page wrappers. If you have, for instance, your page and you want to consistently have things on that page, then you can use it. Okay, you can create a page wrapper, and whatsoever you want, you can just simply be using it in any page you want. Okay, I don't know if you have understood properly how this passing in the children, how it works, but it is just in a way that you can share styles in different places. Instead, you can just create something which takes in children, and children has a type of React node. Okay, now some people just say React node, but it's the same as React node. You can destructure it right away, or you could just say React node. Even that one works. Some people will say React node, React node, just like this. This one still also works, but this is the same as actually extracting the React node. This is the same as the way we use useState. You can say React.useState, React for .useEffect, or you can just get useState directly from React, the way we have just done here. Okay, so that is also another nice type to really understand and start using in your applications. Okay, so let's just go to the next. And the next is the alternative ways to annotate prop types. So you're going to find most people or other people using this one. Now this one was used in those days. Okay, so you can have a component. Just create a simple component. Maybe it says user. Let me just create another component here which says user.tsx rfc. Okay, so now normally it is not applied onto this one. Let me just define it in another way. In fact, I think it is rfce. Yeah, so you could just say const user, and of course this one would be equal to a function. Okay, is equal to, do I still remember how to define that? Is equal to a function that returns, yeah, something like this. So you can just have a user, and let's say this user is going to have h2, like for instance the name. Okay, username. Okay, just going to have maybe age. Okay, and they just also have maybe the course. Just say p tag, and they say this will also have a course. Maybe it's taking in all these three properties. Of course, we could just come here and we define type. So you can just say type user, type user, and we can just say equals, and then we can just say it's going to have a username which is a string, is going to have age which is going to be number, and it's going to, sorry, it's also going to have the course, which is going to be a string. Okay, now we could just come and pass these ones here. We just say username, age, and of course finally course, and then we just say this one is of type user. As simple as this. This is how we would annotate. Now this works, okay, this works, but in those days, in our days when we had class components and functional component, there was another way of annotating, or the alternative way of annotating the types. And instead of passing it here inside, you can see here right now we pass in the object containing the props, and then we annotate it by putting colons. We pass in the user props. Now of course we just say user props, the way we have seen that it is good to use this kind of, I think we should just get used to defining and we put user props. So now you find you have here user props and you pass them here, but in our days this is not how it used to be. Okay, even up to now, by the way, it works, only people now got used to new way of annotating types, but you will find it in some places people using them FC. Okay, so inside here we could define it just like this. We say let me just check, guys. So you define it and give it here and say dot, and then you could just say FC, which FC stands for functional component, and you import this from React here, and then inside this FC you put the annotation for this user props. So you just come here and say user props. Now you can see, now if you just over here, you can see it has this, and all these ones are being annotated here. So you can just say, of course, come here and they say username, and you can just say age, and of course you can just go and say course. Okay, so this is how they we used to annotate the types. You say function user, and then you put colons to annotate this function, and inside here you say FC, and then inside the FC you use these ones for if you remember, we're using these angle brackets when it comes to generics. Okay, so you go ahead and pass in your types inside this. So you're going to find people using this. If you don't want to use this old school, the one for the product here, okay, if you don't want to use this for this one, you can just go ahead and you also use this. I know I just call this old school. I rarely define my property, my props like this. Okay, I prefer using this one. I find it more bit easier for me. Okay, but I wanted to show you that there is this alternative way of also defining actually just like this. You pass FC, which stands for functional component, and then takes in this the user props that you're having in here. Okay, so that is the alternative way of annotating types. Now another common one is this one type for dynamic routes. Okay, of course in Next.js, something that we are all commonly using is the concept of dynamic routes. So let's just say on these products, let me just go to the product here. I'm just going to put a link here that takes to the detailed page. So you say link, get it from next link. Of course, now here I'm just going to say href. And normally here we could always go to the ID. we could just go, for instance, to products, to a page called products, and then we go to maybe product 1. Okay, so we could just say view details, just like that. So let's just have this link like this. Of course, now I can just go to here, I create another folder. So just create new folder, and then you can just come here, products, create folder called products. Then inside these products, just going to create another new folder called ID. This is how we determine a dynamic route. Then inside this ID, just going to create a new file of page.tsx. Just like that, and you say RFC. I'm just going to go ahead and just import a product here. Just right now a product, just like this, and you can see already they are giving us that you are missing the product props, title, image, and price. We can just go ahead and give those ones title. Let's just say title is Microsoft Surface. Then image, I'm just going to pass the path, which is images surface, image surface dot jpeg, and then finally the price, which is going to be maybe 400. Just like that. Okay, so this is the detailed page for products. So I can just go here on this single product, and we are going to this page. As you can see here, we are going to this page. Now if I go back here on this product, they have your details. Now let me click on this. Okay, so we have here this. We can just go ahead and the image has a problem. Let me just go ahead and rectify this, and we can just simply go to first of all global CSS, and we can remove all these ones, or we can just do only one thing inside here, the body. Let's give a min height of 100 view height, just like that. So this would solve the problem. Okay, so let's just go and rectify this. The image is not working. I'm just going to go to the detailed page here in the page, and the image is called, it is products, not images, so it is in products, and just like that, it should now work. Okay, so we have here this product. Let me just go ahead and do some simple stylings. For instance, give a class name which has a min height of screen, and I'm just going to give flex items center and justify center. Okay, so this would put this item in the center. Okay, just like this. Okay, so now what we want is to make this one dynamic. Okay, if for instance I pass 2, I pass 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, so to make it dynamic, first of all, we can just come here to this one, let's say products. Is it on products or product? On product. So the first thing you would do is saying here, this is going to be a dynamic route. Change this. You can first put in a bracket and change this and say this is going to go to products and then ID. So at the end here, we just want to put the ID. So $ID, just like that. Okay, so of course the first thing is that they cannot find the name ID. So that means this one has to come as a prop. So I can just come in and say ID. Of course, when you put the ID here, you get another problem. They say that prop ID does not exist on type I products. Okay, so you have to go to the I products, and so just go here, boss here, let's add ID. Okay, as now you have to decide, you just see as a number, and even here let me just add ID as a number. Okay, so if you just do that, if you come back on this side, you will see that now this, because it has no ID already, it is complaining just like that. And you can see how TypeScript is capturing you at all corners. You only change in one place and would put errors in all places. So you change it and added the ID onto this one. Already it flagged you here where we are using the product. So wherever we are using the product, we didn't pass the ID. Okay, so let me just say ID1. ID is equal to 1. And you can go to products where we are using it here. Now we have to go here and define these ones as IDs. And you can see here we have more errors. Okay, because they are annotating this I product, and if you hover now here, they say property ID is missing in the type. And I like this, how they give you the errors all over the place. You cannot miss to see these errors in any way. So now we can go ahead and define the IDs, like for instance 1, ID 2, and you can just go ahead and say ID 3, and here just give this one ID 4. Okay, so now we are remaining with one error. On what is that error? Now you can just come here, you see you are missing, of course, property ID is missing, and you can just of course go ahead and say ID, and let's just say ID is going to be product dot ID. Okay, so now we have no errors. Now we can dynamically send these things here. So if I click on now on this one, you see here we are still going to this product because this is not dynamic. You can see it takes us to this page here. We are still showing something of ID1. Sorry, we are still showing something of ID 1, and also the route should be dynamic right now. If I hover here, 1, 1, okay, these the upper ones, they have no problem. These why is it showing 1? Let's see to the products. Actually to the product. So one single product here, we are having to go to products. So we pass in title, image, price, and ID, and this takes us to products, this one. Okay, so we have these ones in the, of course, in the page. We're having products and products. Let's just go and refresh. And now, yeah, so you can see now we can go to product 2. So you see product of ID 2, so that's what you call a dynamic route. Product 3, we are on product 4. So the first problem we have is that we want to make this one dynamic, so that if we just have 4, it is actually showing 4. Okay, so the first thing, of course, we can just go to products, okay, where we have this array. Okay, either we can export this, can I export this? Export const. Can it be a const export? It cannot, right? Okay, let me just for simplicity, what is the easiest way? Okay, these ones, of course, they would be coming from database. Let me just copy them and take them to here. Have no choice right now, of course. Import this. Okay, so after importing that, so we just want to show on the page this one. So you know very well we can get this from the params. So I'm just going to say here the structure params, and then from the params we destructure the ID. So this is how we do it now. But if you see now, they say ID is declared by single value by say binding element ID. It has implicit any type. Okay, so if you want to bind or to define the these types for a dynamic route, you just have to come at the end here. Okay, you so create the same exact structure. In fact, you can just simply copy this and then paste it here. Now simply define it as types. Simply just come here and they say ID is number. Okay, as simple as that. And by the way, let me just repeat this. The easiest way is simply to copy this same structure. It took me time to actually know how to annotate this on the other side. Simply put colons and then simply copy the same exact structure the way it is, just like this. Copy it, then paste it on the other side. The only thing just to add is on the ID, just add colon number. And this goes for the same thing for slug. So if this was slug, you named this one like product slug, this one would be params slug, and then here to be params slug string. Okay, so you can see now we have annotated very well the params, just like this. And then inside here, we can use the param. For instance, we can say const product is equal to products dot find. So I can just say products dot find. Okay, so I want to find a product. Okay, I want to find a product whose ID is equal to ID. As simple as that. So I can just find this. Okay, and you can see here it is having iprops or undefined. That is automatic because you are using these products, and the products are annotated very well like this. So it is good you annotate the array, and then the rest will be done by automatically. So now I can just get here this product, and I can just come here and I say, instead of this, I say product dot, so just say, and you can see now they give us this auto completion. They already know what the product is consisted of. Okay, so just come here, and by the way, look at that. So when you do this, automatically they know that this can be undefined because of here. You see here, automatically they say product can be undefined, because if you are doing a find, what if the product does not exist? Okay, if the product does not exist, then it is a good idea that you put this question mark. Okay, you put this question mark to mean that this is optional. This can be undefined. You see, they say this can be a product or also undefined, so that's why they are putting this. Or it is good you put this optional chaining. So you can just come here and you say product dot, and you can say image, and then here is product dot price, and then finally just going to put product dot id, just like that. So now we still have some this, and they are saying type string or undefined is not assignable type string. Remember, we defined our product that things have to be there, because according to the product here, you said these I products, and in the I product there is no way we are saying that at any point our title is going to be undefined. Okay, so here there is a workaround. Okay, either here you can, I think, use, there is this, I think it is this. Okay, now this one is called null assertion operator. This one you're like, I'm very sure is going to be there. Okay, so instead of question mark, because question mark says this can be undefined. Okay, you can just say this can be undefined, but if you are very sure it will not be undefined, then you can use this. Now you see that it changes. Now it knows if you put this question mark, it is like you are very sure that the product will have a title, will have this, they are going to be present. Okay, now to avoid a scenario like this is where we do something like this. So you could just come and say that if a product exists, so for instance we could just say if product, okay, if product do exist, okay, and then you could just go ahead and show this. Okay, if it doesn't exist, we can just go ahead and show something else, like a p tag saying no such kind of product, no such kind of product. Okay, so this makes sense now. By saying that there is no such kind of product. If the product exists, then we show it here, or if it doesn't, then we say no such kind of product. You can even put a link going to the shopping. So now we have 4, and it is saying no such kind of product. We have to first find here, let me console.log product. Okay, and they just go to the console and undefined. Okay, so that means the find has a problem. So let's just say come again, product.id is equal to id products.find. So we find a product.id is, are we having any issues with types here? Because this let me just remove one and let's see one more time. Yeah, so this is things concerning with the types. I think one is, you can see this one is a number. I don't know, this is also a number, but for some reason I don't know. If we see console.log, it's supposed to be a number. I don't know, but you can see doing this. But you can see just if someone passed something like 8 or 9, so we now see show him a nice UI saying no such a kind of a product, and if this is there, you pass 3, we have this product. Okay, So this is how you can actually annotate some types. You think you are learning a lot of stuff. Okay, we are learning a lot of stuff, and I guess let me just do one thing. And now, by the way, if you remove this, it now works. Okay, and I don't know if anyone can guess why, and it's because of this. Okay, it's just because of this option rendering. We are saying if the product exists, we do this. And TypeScript, by the way, is very smart enough to see your code, how you are handling the scenarios. For instance, if you have a scenario whereby you are not doing this optional rendering, okay, TypeScript will know. If, for instance, we go back to our old version, if I cut this, remove everything here, go to our old version, now the problem comes. Okay, because they say product is possibly undefined. It can be not there. The fact that you are doing a find here, they are smart enough to know that a product that can be returned here can be also undefined. Look at this. They know it can be a product or it can return undefined in case it doesn't match anything. And that one means you can't just come and show the product like this, because you see they're smart enough to say product is possibly undefined, and you are trying to show this will break the app in production. So now, if you go and handle it using the optional chaining like this, they are seeing it that you are optionally rendering this product just in case if it is there. If it doesn't exist, then you're handling it like this. And I like that we did this example and you have seen how to handle that. Okay, great. So let's just continue. We have seen how you can handle dynamic routes or how to give that, and that is a very good example. Okay, so let's just look at reusable types. Okay, so here we're just going to look at, just going to use the same example here. We use it for the user. Okay, so let's just say we have two components. I'm just going to create two components. So we have this component of a user. Just going to create another one. So let's just have admin. So just going to have here saying admin admin.tsx rfc. Okay, and they just say admin has these properties, has the name, okay, has a name which they said Ahmed Ismail. I don't know the spelling of Isma, guys. Isma. Okay, and then let's see, he has also maybe p tag. He has ID of maybe UN, maybe whatever here. I'm just going to say 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, you can have also department. So just say here p tag. He has no, this can't be the admin. Maybe admin has name, ID, and another one we can just say he has what? We just have let's say he has these two. Maybe we're just going to say is admin. You can have also is admin true, but let me just say he has only these two properties, the name and ID. Okay, so I'm just going to create the same kind of thing here. New file. I'm just going to create employee.tsx, and they're just going to do rfc And let's say even this has the same thing but has one more thing. So can have the name. Let's just add another one here, like a p tag of email. Okay, admin at admin.com. Okay, so let's just say here I wanted to give admin one more property. Let me see which property can I give to the admin, and just give another one property to the my admin. Maybe let's just say admin number. Maybe this one will be just like he has this admin number. Maybe he has also this ID. Maybe for him he has to know this. He has admin number, and maybe this one is 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so let's just copy some of these ones. We shall modify them. So just go copy this, and let's go to the employee. Employee has the same things. Name, we just say Anita Josephine, and email is at Anita at maybe company, and then they doesn't have this, just simply have ID. Okay, so you can see this one has a normal ID, and let's add one more here. Just going to have the department. Okay, so of course if we are to give this one, we would give here, we would just come here and we annotate type. We could just go type employee. So let me just define for the employee props. I would go to types, as we said, go types, and they say export type employee props, and they just say is equal to, and now you can just go and look at the employee. Okay, they have these 4 things. I'm just going to copy them for purposes of looking at them. Okay, so let me just paste them here. Has the name, so just come here and they say name, which is a string. So this is done. They have email, so you can just say email, which is also a string. Okay, just also remove this. And then has ID, so just come here and we say ID, we put it on top here. And this is, it could be a number or a string. For now, let's just say maybe a number. And then we have department, so you just down here you can just say department, and of course this is a string. So just go ahead and remove all these, just like that. So we have our employee. I'm going to duplicate this, and I create type admin. So just go and say admin props. Now if you just go to the admin.ts, this person has only 3 things. Let me just copy them. Okay, just come here, let me just paste this one. So he has a name, and you see as admin ID, so this one admin number. Okay, and then they have name, they have email, they have no department. Okay, so now we have this here. So this has no problem. As you can see, we have no errors. I can just come to the employee and I pass these ones as in the employee we can have name, okay, a name, email, name, email, ID, and then department. Okay, department, and then I can just come here and you see it is at employee props, just like this. Okay, so this has no problem, and then you can just come here and of course use the name. I can just come here and use the email. I can just come here, use the ID, and finally I can just use the department. Okay, I can just come here and use the department, as simple as this. So this has no problem. As you can see, there are no errors. Similarly, I can go here and I say admin types. So you can just say it takes in a name, email, and then admin number. And these ones I can just say we annotate them with admin props, just like this. I can just use the name here, use the name, use the email, and then use the ID. And this is not ID. If you put ID, you will see that ID does not exist, cannot find ID, because this is admin number. So just say here admin number. Okay, so you have this, and there are no problems. This works totally fine. If you go and put the ID, you put the admin, and you also, so if I just go on the UI and I pass maybe in our page, if you go, not this page, if you go to our page here, you can of course go ahead and for instance, while we have this container here, I can just go ahead and pass in the admin, just like this, and you can go ahead of course pass in the props. They want all these 3 props. Okay, so you can just go ahead of course pass in all these 3 props, the admin number. Okay, I can just go ahead and say admin number is 1 2 3 4 4 5, and then for the name I can just say Waswa Deo. Okay, and then email, I can just go ahead and simply, and by the way, to make this interesting, for now just first put this email. So I'm just going to put the email which says admin at admin.com, just like this. So this has no problem. If you check on the UI, this is totally fine. Just go to the home page. Okay, so if you scroll down, you have the admin here. Okay, name, email, and this. Of course, you could just go ahead and also pass in the same thing to the employee. So you have here the employee. Okay, it has no admin, that's just ID. Name, email, so there's one thing remaining, which must be the department. So if you scroll down here on these TypeScript errors, you can see that, and most people don't read. Please read the errors. The errors always, they tell you what you are missing or what the problem is. Some people don't just read. Okay, just read. Department is declared here, so supposed to go ahead and let's add department, and just say maybe automotive, whatever. Okay, so we have this, and if you just go on the UI, you will find that you have also this, and we could just go ahead and maybe put them in some sort of padding y of maybe 4. even this one, they just add them padding y of 4, just like that. Now, yeah, so we have this. Now, why we're just doing reusable is that you see that the name, email, the name and email here, they are repeated. Okay, so this of course is a small example, but in big examples you may find that you have one object that has so many things that are similar to another object, okay, except some few of them you may find they have so many in common, okay. And here I've just used admin and the employee, but if you just know in the real scenario in the website, if you're building an e-commerce, you know, you have a normal user, you have a service provider, and you have an admin. These three people, they have things in common and they also have things in difference, okay. So you might just come and define, you might be tempted to find that you are adding more things onto, for instance, let me go to the types. Here you find that you have employee, or you have the admin, or it can be a service provider, or it can be anything. You find they have some things in common and then they have also things in different, okay. So to avoid duplication of types, for instance, email and name, you can see they are here and they are also here, okay. So for instance, we can say, we can define another now thing which said export, okay, type. Now you say user, for instance, and now this one can have this name and email, okay, name and email. So I'm just going to actually just copy this, put them here. So let's say this user, a typical user, have this one. Now for the employee is a user but has more things on him, okay. For instance, of course, we could also move ID into here, but just leave it here just to give the difference. Let's say a typical user has name and email, then when you come to the employee, it has the ID and the department, okay. So if you are using types, I'm just going to show you type two ways. The first one is to look at when you're using types, okay, if you're using types. So how do you combine, how do you define reusable types using types? If it was types and I don't want to repeat these two, okay, I would first remove them, and I say that employee props, of course, if you just remove these ones, you said everyone is screaming everywhere the email, name and email, they are not provided. Let's go back to types. So I would say that employee props is equal to user, okay, and okay, I would say and this, okay, but it's not and it's just only one. It is user and this. So this one will mean that the employee has all the props in the user plus these ones. They similarly would go here on the admin and would say that the admin props is equal to the user and admin number. Look at this. So we have simplified this by taking advantage of one already defined type. So if you already have a type that is having the same things, but this one has slightly only like one or two keys different, so you could just say it takes in all what is in the user plus this, okay. Now this is when you're using types, okay. This is when you're using what? When you're using types. But you could use it also using interfaces, okay. So you can just define also an interface. So down here I will define an I and then of course remove this equals. Okay, so this one would be now an interface, export interface, okay. So I would define an interface user. Now to do the same thing we have done here, let me just start with export. Okay, I would say export interface employee employee props, and I'm just going to remove of course all these ones just like this. So what you can do is use the keyword extend, and we did it in our previous video. So you can just say export interface in employee, and I say that this actually extends user. Okay, so what this means is that if I just go now and I use, and by the way, to show you before putting this, if I just go now I use inside here, where is employee, let's just use employee props, import this. Okay, now you see we have this one screaming name and email are not on this. Okay, the employee does not, the email does not exist on this. If you go to the name, you see that the name also does not exist on type employee. So if I go back to my types, now we can just now say employee extends user, user. Okay, just like that. And by the way, you can also extend it to a type. That's the nice thing. You can extend to a type and it works, but I always want to define, if I'm using only interfaces, extend to the interface, another interface like this. But it can extend to an interface can extend to a type. Okay, so you have this. Similarly for the admin, we can also duplicate this, and we can just say, for instance, that interface admin props, and you can say admin props extends user, and then you can pass the admin number. For instance, just can come here and you just see it extends admin number. Just a second, just come here and you see just like this. So this is how you can extend, or how you can reuse your already the types you are having. If you already have some types defined and you have another types you are trying to define, but they have things in common, instead of duplicating and repeating the same types, you can use the extend. Now I would encourage that you stick to using the interface. Interfaces are good at extending, and this has more advantages. I'm not going to go so much into those advantages, but as we continue using TypeScript, you said using interfaces to extend is more better, even syntax wise, to use than using the props, the types. Okay, for the types, you use this and operator, user, and then you define all these more keys inside here. While on the interface, we use the keyword extends user, and then you define more things inside here. Okay, I think now that one is very clear and you have understood how to use it. So if you just continue here, I've put all these things here, you can find them and there. So now just go to useState. Okay, of course useState is one of the things, or the most common things we use all the time in Next.js and React. Okay, so the first thing, let's look at something very easy. Okay, like loading. Let's have a button, I remember we have a button like this one. Okay, we can go ahead, maybe we give it also a state. Okay, you can go ahead and give it a state. Let's say, for instance, we add a state here of loading. Okay, and this can be a boolean, so you can just come here, go ahead and say loading is a boolean, just like this. Now sometimes you can just say it is not required, it is optional. Okay, if you wanted, you could just say it is optional, because already in page where you are having this what is it, where you're having the button, they are complaining that a required type boolean is missing. So you see property loading is missing in the type. Okay, is missing, and for that case you need to define it, but you can just say it is optional. And how do you define optional? You can just come here to loading and you say loading is optional. It can exist or it might not exist. So if you just go here, and then you can just have add to cart. But if, for instance, if we say if it is loading, okay, I can just go to this button, for instance. Okay, I can just go here and I say that if loading exists. So for instance, if loading is true, we just first put this here. If, for instance, loading, and you could just say if loading exists, we could just go ahead and say if loading exists, then you can show different words. For instance, here would show the word loading, just like this, and then else we could show this. Of course, I could just put a span inside here. Just do this, put this, and then inside just put a span, sorry, a span, and then just put this. Okay, yeah. So if it is true, if loading is true, we show loading. If it is not, we show that. So right now, of course, we are not providing loading. If you just go here, we have add to cart. If I just go and provide loading, so let's just go to the page, let's provide state. So you could just say const, and we could just say loading state, loading is equal to useState, just like that. And by default we can give this false. Okay, and now if you just use any React hook, you have to convert this component into a client. So you say use client. Okay, it's just like that. And now you have loading, and I want you to see now, of course on the screen there is nothing here that changes, since it is still false. And we can just say loading, and let's pass loading here equal to loading, just like this. Okay, so now you see we don't have any errors when we use useState. We don't have any errors, and simply because they are using TypeScript inference. Okay, this is TypeScript inference at work. They are inferring the type of loading by the initial value you provided here. If I say, for instance, 0, you will see that now we have an error because loading here cannot be type of number. And you see that type number is not assignable type boolean, because we said that in the button that loading is a boolean, and then here in the page you are trying to provide it as a number, okay, because they just choose the state of this depending on what you have passed in here, okay. If you put false, it becomes a boolean. If you pass in John, it becomes a string. You look at this now, it is loading is of type string. If I put in anything, for instance an array, if I pass in an array here of strings, look at this, now it becomes an array of strings, okay. If you just go ahead now, let's pass, of course, boolean, which is false in this case, just like this, you see that useState is having a behavior of what we call a generics, okay, or a generics in TypeScript. If you come and hover on this, you will see that it is taking a state, useState, and it's having these angle brackets that we call generics, and they are passing in a boolean. That's why whatever you pass in here, it becomes the type of this, okay. So by default, okay, by default, useState is annotated by TypeScript inference, okay. The types, and if I say by default, the type of the useState, okay, useState is inferred, okay. I don't know if this is spelling of inferred. The types of this are inferred. They just look at what you have initialized here, and they define it to be the data type for this variable you have defined here, okay. Now, but we can actually just go here, and you see by default they are annotating it in this way. useState, they put angle brackets, and then they pass in the type. So we can also just say, for instance, here, and we say this is boolean, and this is how we can implicitly put ours, just like this. The useState by default is boolean, and this in most cases is required in some instances, as we are going to see, okay. Of course, if we pass in true here and you check on the UI, this should change now to loading, okay. Great. Okay, let's pass it back to false. Okay, so this is one way how we define useState, and you pass in a type here, and this is what you call generics, whereby whatever you pass in here, for instance, if you say number and you said they will just tell us what you have passed in here is not assignable to number, so you can just say, for instance, 0, okay, or you could even say it is a number, or you can say boolean, okay. So if you just, now we have no problem, we can just pass in this number or this, or I can pass in your true, and I will have no problem. And the problem now is that when you say that and you are passing into this type loading, it is not having this type number or boolean, okay. So that is where they will get you, and this is all pointing you always to the right direction, okay, telling you what you are doing right now is not acceptable, and then it gives you a discipline of knowing how to handle things, okay. Okay, right. So now let's just look at a more useful example. So as you continue here, we have, for instance, where you have like state, and you can just come here and you set in the state. This is very easy, okay. You can just come here and define, for instance, your own status. So for instance, you can have type status, and then here you say status, set status, and you can pass in the annotation as we said. You can see, and you can put here, if I come here and I put something else, okay, you see here they give you error, and they say whatever you are passing in is not assignable to parameter type status, which has all these things here, okay. Status can be one of these ones, but here I'm passing in something else, okay. So this is really important to know that this is how we pass the data type for the use state. Okay, now let's just look at another example. It can be where we have, for instance, a user. Okay, for instance, you can be having a user from a database, but at a point when the user is being defined, that user can be undefined or null whatsoever. Okay, can be null, or just going to look at an example in just like in detail in a second. But you can have here and define the define your types inside these angle brackets. That's the most important thing to understand when you're defining the use state. So let's just go ahead and look at refs. Okay, I think this is the most somehow also advanced refs and events. Okay, so you can just look at refs and events. So the refs, they just do a simple example where we have a form. So I'm just going to go down here in this wrapper. The fact now we have our wrapper here. Just going to see product container. Inside here, I'm just going to pass in a form. So I'm just going to have a form here that is having, maybe since we have this employee, we can define things like this. Three things we can just do. We can just say just pass in, for instance, name. So I'm just going to say input type text. I'm just going to give a placeholder of name. So duplicate this, maybe email and department. Email and department. So just say type email and then placeholder department. Okay, and then I'm just going to have name, email, department, name, email. So here is email, and then here is department, just like this. So let's just see if this form is visible now. Scroll down. Okay, so we have this form. We can just, of course, go ahead and like here we give, just remove this. Let's make it class name. Let's just say flex. Let's say flex call. Let's give a gap of maybe 4. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we have name, email, department. Of course, we can just give this mx auto. Let's give also max width of maybe 3 XL. Max width of 3 XL, just to avoid it exaggerated. Okay, so we have name, email, and in this we can have a button. I just have a button submit, or just say create user or something like that. So you can have a form and then you have a button here, create a user. Let's give some class name. Okay, and then we can just say, for instance, bg blue 500 text white, and then maybe py of 3, px of 6. Okay, and maybe rounded. Okay, so we have our button. Yeah, so we have name, this, maybe I don't know if we need to state the inputs, but I just keep them just like that. Maybe just give them the class name, maybe py of 3 of the all of them. I'm just going to give them py just to look a little bit. Yeah, so I have a name, email, and department. So my aim is to type in some things here. Okay, my aim is type in, for instance, the name, just like that, and let's just say color in here. In the inputs, I'm just going to do maybe say text slate 900. Let's see. Yeah, so we have this, and maybe we could also define maybe this one, instead of p, can it be just like p, so that it works on also x and y. Okay, that's much better. Okay, so we have this. So how do we get in this? Okay, first of all, let's start with the refs. Okay, so we can first of all define the const. Let's start here with the refs. Okay, let's start with the refs. So the refs, they work exactly the same way we used to use in pure JavaScript. The way we used to give, for instance, we could just come to an input, you give it like an ID. I remember, if you just remember, in typical JavaScript, you could give an ID to an input like this one, maybe name, and then you go and say in JavaScript, you say select this input. You could say it is document dot query selector or get element by ID, and then you pass in this. So the refs use exact same concept. Okay, they use the same exact concept. So the first thing is you can go here and give the ref. Okay, for instance, each of these ones you have to give them a ref. For instance, a name ref, email ref, and like maybe department ref, and you can just come here and say ref, and then you see this one, I'm giving it a ref of, for instance, name ref. Okay, you can just also give this one, you say I'm giving it a ref of email ref, and then you can also give this one also a ref of department, since we're just like department ref, just like this. So go ahead and create these refs. Okay, you just go ahead and create these refs, the name ref, email ref, and the department ref. So let's start with these refs. So you can just come here. Okay, and you can just say, for instance, I think it's const name ref is equal to, so you can use ref. Okay, from React, is it ref or use ref, guys? So it is use ref from React, just like that, and you can just give them maybe null. So right now, just say create them. We shall see. So just create all the 3 refs, 2, 3. Just have like the email ref, and then finally we have like the department ref, just like this. So you can just go and determine the refs, and of course remember to import the use ref from React on top here. So that is the first thing. But now you can see here we're having a problem. If you hover on this, mutable undefined is not assignable to blah blah HTML input element stroke undefined. Okay, so even the refs, okay, let me just let's give them some initial things. If for instance we just said here empty, just like this. If you hover here on the ref, you see that the ref right now is saying use ref, okay, is equal to string, okay, and a ref is also example of using this of using the generics. Okay, so refs also are like useState. They take the value you have initialized. So for instance here we are initializing it with this empty. If you hover here, you can see here they are taking useRef to be string, okay, because we gave the initial value as a string. Okay, now which is they are refusing from here. Okay, you can see ref type mutable object blah blah. So the real one is this HTML input element. Okay, so the actual one, if you're just like referencing to the an input, okay, like this, if it is a div, you can say it is HTML div element. If it is this an input, you can just hover here and they will tell you the type of this input, the type of element you are putting the ref. Now there are different elements. A div can be HTML div element. An input is of type HTML input element. If you just hover here, you see it is HTML input element. Okay, so I can just come here on top and you can just say these ones defining here, and you see this is HTML input element, just like this. Okay, so just copy for all these ones, just put like that. Use ref, sorry, okay, so after putting this, the errors that are down here, they are gone. These ones, the errors down here, they are gone, but up here we have this one. They say no overload matches this call 1 2 3 blah blah initial value input. So you could just come here and say at first this can be null. Okay, so just like this, you can just say put null. So at first we can just say this can be null. Okay, just like this. So we have these three: name ref, email ref, and the department ref. These ones are going to be keeping the reference of these three inputs here, and this is how you actually define the types for these refs. This is how you pass in the types. It is a generic, and depending on which element you did, for instance, to give you an example, if we give a ref a form, let me show you. If for instance we wanted to define our form, we are having here this form, let's give it a ref is equal to form ref, for instance, form ref. So if you just do this, you see that now this is of HTML, okay, HTML form element. Okay, so now you could just come here, and if you are defining, for instance, the form ref, this is just for the example purposes. I'm not going to use the form ref, but is to give you, if for instance we defined a form ref, here it is HTML form element, and you saw how I was getting it is just by coming here on where you have defined the ref. You simply hover here, and then they will tell you the here ref. You see, it is ref which is of type HTML form element. So you also just copy this and then you use it up here, just like this. Okay, so that's great. So now we can define all our refs. Now moving on is, so we want to create an on submit. So when we click on this form, okay, when we click on this form, let me just say handle submit. So handle, of course this is on submit. On submit, we just pass in. So if I just did this and you pass in a function here whatsoever, like console.log something, if you hover here, they can annotate the types automatically by inferring. If I now hover on this, you will see that we have, for instance, we have E, and you can see E is of type form element. Okay, they give you all this annotation to use. So normally what I just do is, if I want to do this, you can just come here and you say E, and you can see they have given it the types. You can copy this the way it is here and simply copy it. Now I can remove this and I put a function, for instance, handle submit this function, and I can just go ahead and create this function. So down here, okay, and I can just say, for instance, function handle submit, just like this. So we know very well that you have taken the E, okay, and you can just go here and I say E dot prevent default, okay, prevent default, just like this. But now you have to define E, okay, you have to define E because right now it has any, okay. And as I've told you, is to the easy way to get this E, the types for this E, is simply to actually first trick this, and you can just go here, as I've said, you put back like this E, and you have console.log whatever. Now when you hover on E, you said they will give it the types. You see E is of form element, form event, HTML. So you can just simply copy that, and let me put back the handle submit, and I can just go here and annotate this with this, okay. So you can just come here and say E is the form event. Do we need to get this from React? Form event, and then this form event is HTML form element, okay. So just like this, now you have piece now, and this is how we annotate, for instance, the forms, okay, the type for the events. If it is on the button, you can also just get it. I'm just going to show you for the button in a second. Okay, so let's just go ahead and now do something. How do we get this one? So I can just get the, for instance, the name, const name is going to be is equal to the name ref dot current dot. So from this, I think it's value. Yeah, I think it must be name dot value, just like that. Just like not value function, just like that. So a name ref is current, and this is how we used to do it in pure JavaScript. We could say it is whatever you have defined it dot value, but here you have to define and say dot current dot value. So similarly, we can get for the all of them, just like this, okay. So name, I can say email, and the department is going to be name ref. Here of course is going to be the email ref, and then here is going to be the department ref. Okay, so you can say department ref dot current dot value, and you see here, because of a possibility of being undefined, they are putting question mark this. Okay, if you are very sure, you could of course go ahead and use this, the assertion, null assertion operator, just like this. It also work to show you that they cannot be null. Okay, but if you use this one and it works for you, the question mark, if they bring any errors here, okay, you can use the null assertion operator. So you can just go ahead and get these three values, and I can go ahead and create here maybe a user. Okay, let me just say const a user state user, okay, is going to be equal to useState. Okay, useState. Now what do I put here? I'm just going to pass in null. Okay, but I want to give this one. So right now, if you hover here, the user is going to be of type never. No, not type never. Just can just hover here on useState. You just having null. So what I'm just going to do, I want to give this one type of employee. So employee props, just like this. Sorry, I just want to give it employee props, and automatically when you do that, they give you here null is not assignable to property employee props. So I can just say here I put this. So you can just say optionally it can be employee props or null. I think you are seeing how I'm setting this, because at some point this can be empty and you define it by null. Like for instance, before the user have typed in, you can just use this as null, as simple as that. So now let's go down here. Okay, I just want to say console.log. So I want to create an object. So const new user is equal to, so let's create, we can create ID automatically. So you could just say, come here and say const ID is equal to math dot random. Okay, and we can multiply this by maybe 100, and then we can also do math dot could just say math dot flow, and simply of this. So whatever I just get here is going to be our ID. So I'm just going to say here ID, and you can just say ID pass in email, and pass in also department. Okay, department email name. So you can also pass in the name, and if you wanted, you can annotate this, and you say if you want to bring problems, you can just say this is of employee props. Okay, and now you see, because we know this new user want to be of employee props, so you see now they tell you some problems. For instance, you have string here, name, which they say it can be a string or undefined, and they are saying it that it's going to be undefined because of here. Okay, it is going to be undefined because of this. Okay, so you can either do it logically, define it logically. For instance, if we say if I guess we could just say if, and you say if name maybe and email and department and ID, and then you say if that. Now you see inside here is accepting because it is saying you have done it logically. Okay, you had to first check if they exist, and then here it will accept. But if you just simply come directly and do this, it will not accept because it is saying here there is a possibility of being null. Wherever you have this question mark, meaning that this value can exist or might not exist. So meaning that if you have this possibility, you have to do this logic. I told you TypeScript can look at your code and see, are you checking for the types? For instance, right now, you are checking if all values are true, then you can create a new user. Okay? Of course, else you can just do whatever you want, but here you can create a new user. So you can just go ahead, of course, and then we say set. Did we say set user? And then you can just say set user to new user, just like this, new user, just like that. So you can set user, and let me just go up here. Remember, we have this state of user set user. So I'm setting this user, and now I want to use this user on the department. So here where we have employee here, so I want to say here user dot department. You have to put this question mark. Okay, and then ID user dot ID, and the same thing here, user dot name, and then here you say user dot email. So now you have this problem here. Okay, you have this problem here, and this problem is coming because they are saying that on your user, okay, there is of a possibility of a user being null. Okay, there is a possibility of a user being null, and if a user is being null, and here you are having the types which are specific, you did not specify that the user props, they accept null values. Okay, so you have to see. Now there are two ways you can work around this. One, we could just come here and we say we are very sure that this will not be null. So instead we use this null assertion operator. So there is this operator here, null assertion operator, saying that I'm very sure this will be there. Okay, so just do this. Okay, so you can just use this. This is the first method you can use by changing this into this one, and this is to say that I'm very sure the values, they will not be null. Okay, on the other hand, I don't support using this. Okay, another thing you could just do is fast checking. You could just say if user exists. Now you could do logically like this. Okay, so you see now it accepts because you are checking if the user exists, and only if the user exists, and you are putting this one. Now it knows very well there is no any way you are going to have things not defined here, and this is what TypeScript shines, guys. TypeScript will shine because of that. It will force you to write this. Now in JavaScript, would simply leave it empty, and this in production would just come back to you and it will fail. Okay, it will break the entire app. But now TypeScript forces us to do this. Okay, now when you do this, there is no way how your values can be empty. So at first you can see that this is going to disappear. You see it is gone. So now when we type some things, let's see, by the way, John, email is john@gmail.com, and this department is maybe IT department, department, just like this. Let's submit. So now you see, only after submission this actually comes here. It's only and only after these values exist now that we see this one, the name, email, and the ID, which was automatically generated. Okay, of course we can put other values. Okay, I'm just going to put now Gerard. Okay, and this is going to be Gerard. Okay, you can just go ahead and create, and now you have Gerard. Okay, so now we see how we are using all these together. Okay, we are seeing how we are using all this together to see how we can actually create an entire app. Okay, so refs, they are used to define and track values. So whenever you want to track an element, you can use ref. So we have seen how to use ref. We have seen how to handle events. Okay, we have seen how to handle option chaining if you have these values which are going to be optional or undefined values. Always use if and check, and then we just avoid problems. Similarly, we did the same check here, and then we had to do that. So that was great, and I think you must have found it very useful, and you learned some stuff from it. Okay, so next we are about to finish is this event wrapper. So in the event wrapper, I think instead I will just go ahead and maybe leave it to read about it. I'm just going to create a custom button element, but to explain about this one is to put together all things we have covered. For instance, you can create an element which has, for instance, element type, children, text in a class name, text in a click. So I put all those ones inside to create this custom element. So we want to create a button which has variants. Okay, this is like a whole entire project. We would want to create a button, and this is the same concept used by Shad. So if you just go to Shad, and they have their elements, more especially, for instance, the component, like the button. Okay, if you just go and scroll down to button here, so they have the default the different buttons, like that is the button. If you go down here, they have link buttons. Okay, they have link buttons, so you can see here as a child keyword. They have different examples. For instance, they have a primary button, which is the default, I guess. Secondary button. They have a destructive button, outline button, ghost button, link button, icon button, with icon button, like this one. Okay, so all these ones are the ones we call variants. Okay, so how would you create such a kind of a button with all these variants? Okay, this is the something we want to build, and this can get complicated. But if you want to understand, is that let's start by just creating a simple button like this one we want. I'm going to create another one and say a new file. Let's say custom button, just like this, .tsx. Okay, I'm just going RFC. I'm just going to return a normal button, just like this, and inside I'm just going to say let's start with the simple thing. For instance, a title. So let me pass in a title here. Okay, and I'm just going to pass in a title here. Okay, so I'm just going to say custom button props, and say type custom button button props. Okay, I would just say first of all it has a title. Okay, and this is a string. Okay, easy as that. So I just come here and I pass in the custom button props, and this is good. So I just say custom button, and let me bring it to our page. So I will just go down, create another product container. Let's just say product container, and instead I'm just going to put in .py py of maybe 8, and inside here let me put my custom button just like this. So far now it takes in a title, so you can just say title. Okay, and I'm just going to say, for instance, add to cart. Okay, or I'm just going to say download. Okay, and I can just like of course duplicate this, give it different things. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this. Okay, so you can just say download, loading, and you can just say getting started. Maybe say get started. So you can just have a button, and right now is showing, let's check down here. We have this. Let's maybe go and give a flex somewhere. Flex core. Okay, maybe just simply actually just give them even gap of 4. Okay, just use flex just like that. Okay, so you have 3 buttons. Okay, so we'd want to first of all give them a class name, like whereby someone can pass in the classes of how the button should look like. So we can just go and to this custom. Let me just close all these open things. Just go here and close all, and let's open the custom. Okay, so you can pass in, you can go ahead and pass in the styles. So you can just say here class name. Okay, class name for instance, and the class name is a string, of course, but this is not is optional. So you can just say put this to mean that this is optional. It can be there or not. Let's first leave it and you see the problem. So if for instance I don't put this, and now we pass in class name and I go back to the page, this becomes a problem. All of them, they will be requiring you to put the class name. Property class name is missing. So now to avoid that, you just make this one optional. Okay, so now I will just come here and I say for this one, for instance, give it class name, and I can just say, for instance, bg green, maybe 400. Just say, for instance, line 400, and text maybe straight 900, just like that. Okay, of course, go ahead and say py let's say py py3 px6. Okay, just like that. Okay, so if this is what we're just looking at, just like that, so now this will not work for now, because we are not using them anywhere. Okay, we are not using them, this class name here. If you go to the custom, we have it here, but we're not using it inside here. So you could just come here and say class name is equal to class name here, to class name, and just passing it here, class name. Okay, just like this. Now if now you do that, this will work. So you can see that the props are being passed. But of course, what if we actually also want to give our own default props? Okay, we might just want to give our own default props. So we might just start by saying that const, or just first say late class name is equal to, so we could just give our default props, for instance, say py maybe 3, just going to say here, not just like that, we could just say late py here is equal to maybe to 3 px 6, and bg, they just say here maybe just a slate 200, of course text slate 900. We could just give our own stuff. Of course this one we just say default class name. We just say this default class name, and like this. Now we could have the maybe combined, just say const combined class name is equal to you could just say default, so you could say $default class name, and then I put space, and then you could just also go ahead and add the class name, so $class name, and then you just come here and instead use the combined class name here. Okay, so now you are trying to have a default class name like the default styles here, and you are combining with the one that someone is posting in, and then you put here. Let's see what happens. So you can see this one remains with the ones you passed in, but others, they are having this default one. Okay, and this really makes it very nice for you to have this working very well. Okay, so now what if we want to pass in an icon? Okay, what if we want to pass in an icon, and maybe an icon is actually a React node? Okay, so for instance, if we just came here and you want to pass in an icon which is a React node, how would we do that? So we'll just say, for instance, icon, and the icon is not required, and this one can just say it is a React node, just like this. And this really is the React node as a children. This one would be, let me just check. Icon is, yeah, so the icon is also a React node. Okay, the icon is a React node. Okay, so we can just have that. So we can have the icon. So if the icon exists here, we can just say pass in also the icon, and we could just come and say that icon, can we just say icon. Can we just say const capital icon is equal to icon, and then inside here, let me see if we can just use it. So inside this button, okay, so this, since it is here, we can just also put it here, the icon. So you could just say if icon exists, so I could just maybe put something like if the icon exists, we could just now go ahead and put icon just like this. And this icon, you can see already we have a problem. JSX type icon does not have any construct or signatures. Icon cannot be used as JSX component. Okay, so now when we're using, for instance, the icon, how I handled the icon here, I just want to show you, for instance, the icon. Let's just hope it is going to work, since it is already a JSX like this. Let's just see if this works. Let me just first leave it like this. I'm not so sure if this can actually work. Can I just say if icon? So if icon exists, then we can just say, can we just span? I can put in a span maybe, and then just simply put the icon here. Okay, and now I wish you could just install Lucid. Just say npm just say npm install Lucid React to use the icons. Okay, so now if you just go back to the page, so let's just wait for this to do stuff. It's taking time. So I'm just going to first pause for a second. Okay, so they have installed. I'm just going to pause for a second, then I'll be back. So I've gone ahead and installed the Lucid React icons. You can install also the icons, or you can use React icons. Any of the icons can work. So let's just continue and try to put an icon. So right now on our button, we are passing the icon, and you can see it is a React node. Since the icon, we are going to be a component, we are going to be passing the actual icon as a component. So now let's try to go here, and in our button, well, we have this custom button here. Let's go to any other button and let's pass in an icon, like maybe this one. I'm just going to say icon, and on this icon I'm just going to go ahead and pass in an actual component, which is maybe, let me just say email. Might just need to import this from Lucid. Let me first get any icon from Lucid. Let me first remove this. So out here, let me just import an icon. Let's say I could just say, I don't know if it is email or mail. Yeah, it is called mail. So okay, so I'm just going to get this icon. I'm just going to get this, sorry, I'm just going to get this icon here. I'm just going to pass it as an icon, just like that. So let's pass this, okay. Just like that. We are passing an icon. Let's say on the UI, if we have anything. Yep, so you can see we have the icon, guys. This is really nice. So you see we can simply pass in the icon and the icon is showing up here. Of course, we can just go on our default. On our default, we can give this to be in flex, and maybe we say items center, okay. And we can also maybe, yeah, we can just leave items center, and for the icon we can give it a class name of margin right 2, and then from there we can see, yep, so you can see we have the icon, okay. So we are just going ahead putting our icon more and more things. You can see now we have the title, we can pass in the class name, we can pass in the icon. Now if we look at more attributes we can pass in, for instance, we can go ahead and pass in the on click. We haven't reached on variants, but let's pass in, like for instance, on click. So you can just come here on the props, and let me just define, for instance, on click. So on click, you can see this is going to be a function that returns void. That's how you define. If you want to pass in any function, you pass it like this, okay. We are not sure what is going to be returning, but just pass on click and it is an option, okay. And let's go ahead and one of the buttons, and we say, for instance, we can first accept this here on click, okay. Can pass on click, and then we can just say if on click is there, and then we can apply the on click here, since it is optional. So we can just say on click, okay. On click, we can just pass in on click, just like that. So this on click, a person will pass in, it will come to this on click, and let's go and test that. So I'm just going to click on this get started. I'm just going to give it something, for instance, on click, just say handle, for instance, passing, just do a simple one, like for instance we say console.log, or you could even say alert. Let's just say alert, and we say it's working, okay. So of course you can pass in any function you want, and since you have on click, you have to make sure here you have use client. That is fine. So let's just go here, let's test this, and it is on get started. So let me just go on this, and on this get started I want to click it, and you can see here it's working, okay. So I'm creating this dynamic button that you can use anywhere, okay. Like you can treat it the way you want, you can give it classes. So let's continue and push it to the next level and add more props. So we have added the icon, class name. Now let's talk about the href. Okay, for instance, if I want the button to have an icon but it is a link, because most of the times you want something to be a link. Okay, you might just want this button to be a link. Right now it is just like a just normal button, but what if I want this to be a link? Okay, so we can also just pass in another prop of href. So you can just say href, and I'm just going to go on the props and add href. So you can just say href, and this can also be optional. Okay, and this is going to be a string. Okay, and then we pass it in here in the props, and then we can check if it is true. And if it is true, so I'm just going to come here and say if. So here I'm just going to say if href is true. If href is true, then we can give just a second. Let me just go back to this. Let me just go back to the previous one. I just want to, first of all, to have this one. They just put this. So inside here we have this. Okay, so I'm just going to write an if statement here. So I'm just going to say each href, if true, then we can show something here, else we just going to show something here. Okay, just paste that, and then here let me paste this. Okay, so this one now I just want to make it a link from next to navigation, just like that. Just make it a link, and then we can have now href on this. Okay, can just have href equal to href, as simple as that. So if someone is taking, he passes href, then it should just be like this. And of course it doesn't make sense to leave the on click, but you just leave on click there, just in case if he passes. Okay, so right now I just want to go and test this. If I just go here and on this page, on the page, let me just go and convert this to so if I pass here href now, and I say this one should link to another page, let's say to just go to one of the page products, and they just say 1. So I just want this one to be now a link by just only passing the href. They just go and check, and look at this now, guys. Look at this. Like right now we have this turning into a link. That is so amazing, guys. This is just so nice. Okay, so you see we can really create buttons of all kind just by customizing this. If you pass in a link, now you can just go ahead and pass in one more thing, which are variants. Okay, so we can even go ahead and pass in, for instance, variants. You could just say variants, and this one can be the union. For instance, we can have primary, we can have secondary button, you can have, and you can have as many variants as you can. Let's say you have, let's see, check here the variants we have here. we have default, primary, secondary, and link button. Okay, link button, let me see. So we could just say this one, we just, since we already have this, okay, since we already have href, converting using the href, the link button we can leave it out. We just simply have default, primary, and secondary. So just go here and put default. Okay, just like this. So we can have variants. For instance, if someone says primary, it gets different styles, and these ones are also optional. Okay, now we can just come here and we pass in a variant. I think we just say variant, not variants. And here I'm just going to pass in a variant, and this variant we can give it default. So by default it should have this default variant. Okay, and we can just come here and we say late. Since we are going to have different styles, we can have these as default styles. Okay, and of course we have also the class name a person brings. So what we can do is also have here late variant styles. So variant styles, variant class name, maybe we just call it like that. So when someone passes in like he calls for a variant, for now let's say is empty, and then let's write some if statement. For instance, you can say if variant is equal to for instance primary. Okay, if it is just primary, then you can just say variant class name is equal, and then we can pass in here, for instance, primary, just give it bg blue. So bg blue, maybe 500, and then on hover, let's say bg blue, maybe 700. Okay, and then we can just say you can just say else if variant is equal to secondary. Okay, if the variant is equal to secondary, then we can just say variant class name, let's just say secondary. For instance, let's just make this button black. Just say bg slate, maybe 900, just say about maybe 600, and then on hover, let's make this one bg slate 900, and let's have text to be text slate 50, and even in this case, let's have text to be white. Okay, and then you can also say else if okay, else if, you can say else if variant is equal to, so default, and then we can have here variant class name equal to, and for the default, maybe what we could say here for the default, maybe let's just say we just leave it empty, like it doesn't set any default. Oh, let's say here we say bg white and text text slate 900, just like that. And then here we can just say ls is when we can just say variant class name is equal to empty. And by the way, you could just change this if statement into a switch statement. You can see here I used a switch statement, so you can just use a switch statement. It has no problem also, but just for simplicity I'm using this if statement. You can use switch statement, it is the same thing. So at the end of the day, we'll have some variant class name, okay, and then we can now do a combination of all these. Okay, we can just now say combined is going to be $. So here you can just go ahead and pass in $variant class name, just like that. Okay, we can just pass in that. So to test, we can just go, and we can also just come here and we, of course, it will automatically come here in the combined in the styles. So just go and try, and for this loading, let me just say variant, okay, and let's just say primary, and we see if this has any effect it has on our app. Okay, so you can see here we have this blue, and then we can just give, for instance, now we have these custom styles going. I think we can improve this using the CLX. Okay, but so far if I just come to this one and I'm just going to give it a variant, let me give it a variant of secondary, just like that. Variant is equal secondary, and you can see it has changed here. Okay, so you can see now we are able to make all these buttons. If, for instance, I just go and get a loader, for instance, for the loading button, I can just pass in the icon, and I'm just going to pass in a loader from Lucid React, just like that. And you can see we have the loader working. This is really amazing. Okay, and now what I'm not sure, if I pass anything here, does it work? So just say, for instance, we see animate spin. I'm not sure if this can work. Yeah, so you can see, guys, we have all these things really dynamic, and I'm really happy for what we have done so far. Okay, though we have issues with our class name here, and this can be sorted by using a CLX, but so far so good. You can see you can make a very complicated thing just like this, and this is the same concept that people of Lucid are using to create this. And with this you can create anything you want. You can create a custom component, you can create a component that is so much, and I'm just going to use this this concept to create custom components. And if you see that video coming up next, just to know, we're just going to use these techniques and we create our own components that we can customize and use. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have found a tons of important aspects. We have covered a number of things right away from where we started. We have looked at component props, types from dynamic routes. We have reusable types, useState, refs, element wrapper, creating advanced custom components. So we have done a lot of things and I hope this video you can use it for reference and doing more and more. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.